could I have a roll call, please?
Yeah.
Sure, just a second.
Launch.
Yeah, really.
That's okay, Amy. At our last health department meeting, the IT manager was giving a presentation to the whole board of directors, and she couldn't call up the computer system to put it up on the screen.
Okay, Mr. Erickson,
Here.
Mr. Morse,
Here.
Mr. Hardy,
Here.
Mr. Walker,
Here,
Mr. Banks.
Here. With that, we'll entertain a approval of minutes from June 13th, 2024. I'll do that, Morse.
support Walker.
Good. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Good. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Make that motion, Hardy.
Support Walker.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Good. Public comment. Any comment from all of our, any of our guests this morning? Thank you for joining us. Quiet bunch. Very good. Dr. Karen Moore. Hello, good morning.
Been a while since
Good morning.
I missed you. Hi, Sharon.
Good morning.
It's like okay, that's where you want to go to. Okay. I'm sorry. Good morning. I am Karen Moore. I am your Indigent Defense Coordinator. Have been for over 5 years now. We started in 2019. Very happy to report we have always been in compliance. We've always had success at the state level in advocating for you in the 7 counties that you've joined with, and we continue to do so. We've recently, back in April, we had to submit our FY25 grant. We did that, and last month the MIDC board approved that. This is the first time, though, they've separated my 8 counties. They approved 2, you and Nuevo, and approved all the plans, but denied the funding request for the other 6. Their basis being, for the first time, and not communicated to us. Those are my issues with it, not their logic, but their basis of, they looked at our FY24 spending, and any jurisdiction that hadn't spent more than 30% in certain categories was just summarily denied for FY25. Again, good process had they have been doing it all along or even communicated to us. And if they communicated to us, we could have provided additional information. I attempted to do that at their last board meeting where you get 3 minutes of public comment, and they let Wayne County go on for 10 minutes because they like what they say. And at 3:01, they didn't want to hear from Karen anymore. So we are continuing our advocacy there. The 8 really need to move through together. Staffing in my office is difficult. We have funding from 2 but not 6. How do you staff this new position? The new position that is needed. The state has now mandated all 8 standards. If we go back to the statute that was written in 13, it had 8 standards. Then they added one, an indigency standard. For FY25, which is set to start in October, they've implemented standards 6 and 7. That's caseloads and attorney qualifications. So that is a ton of back-end monitoring that we need to do to make sure the attorneys aren't going over the allotted cases, and that the attorneys are being properly monitored, mentored, everything that we need. Fortunately, over here you've got phenomenal attorneys, and we won't have any issues there either. So the other argument, and I made this at their last meeting with caseload standards, is this was set by folks who don't understand small jurisdictions. They're actually counting misdemeanors. They they logically separated out a traffic misdemeanor, operating without a license, from a domestic violence. Those take different times to process those. What they're not doing is separating out like a DNR ticket. All DNR tickets are 90-day misdemeanors. They're gonna treat that the same as a high-level misdemeanor. So I don't know how, when we're counting, the attorneys can only accept certain cases. A DNR ticket is either going to have the decision of not providing representation, which is not a good thing, or counting as a high-level misdemeanor. And they don't seem to understand that for small jurisdictions that have a lot of those types of issues, that's gonna be a problem. So I could go on and on. You have other things to do today. Any questions about your MIDC compliance? About how the state's doing?
What are the implications for the other counties? Obviously, we're not in that situation, but maybe we will be next year. What are the implications for that withheld funding?
Yeah, fortunately, there's none. We have our carryover. We don't have to give it back to the state. And the last level of frustration, though, they're meeting again in August, but they told us last month, and there were 70 some plans, right? So it certainly isn't just my 6. There was a whole slew that are being pushed, and their comment, though, and this is really getting to me, they'll be discussed at their October meeting. It's like October 16th. The grant year starts October 1, and they're like, that's okay, we'll get a contract out to you real fast and you can sign it. And I said, you mean for boards to consider, for there to be, we're looking at, maybe even into November. So I've taken a hard stance against that. In fact, we're resubmitting this week and forcing them to hear these in August. Even if they deny again, I want action taken. So it will be fine, but it's just the principle that, in my opinion, again, had they have communicated, and what they have, the regional staff, like remember Barb Klemaszewski, those of you who've been here and met her, she's retired. Most of the regional staff is very new. Senior management is just going rogue on everything they've ever wanted to do. And we're fine, but the level of frustration, not knowing, right? It's that unknown. And we wrote reasonable, our grant requests were very similar to what FY24 was. Why not, right?
And thanks for being here, Dr. Moore. So if I understand it correctly, those other counties were not given, or they have the issue because they have a certain fund balance already? Is that, boiling it all down for my simple mind, is that basically what it is? They have, their fund balance is at a higher level than ours is, maybe even? Is that?
Very close. Their spending on attorney fees was below the 30% limit at the 50% mark, which seems like a logical thing to do, but and I even said this in the meeting, Clare and Gladwin counties bill as cases close, and then in September bill on all open cases, so that everything that the attorneys have done falls into that grant year. So if you went back to FY23 last year, each quarter they're like 150,000. In the fourth quarter, they were over $500,000. So saying that you're only at 30% through half the year is very logical, because those are only closed cases. But they just summarily picked a number, applied it to everyone, and no logic was involved in that at all. So it's not a fund balance, it's a spending at the attorney fee level. And we were at like 32, and they said yes. Mason County was at 28.
I see. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, but it's, I want to get 3 no's and litigate this, if I'm being completely honest. That's just Karen being really sick of getting kicked by the state. It has nothing to do with you, because you're a participant.
Yeah.
But we're not going to let them kick small counties, and that's what they're trying to do.
Any other questions, comments?
This is, as I've said before, we're very fortunate to have somebody handle all of this, somebody as competent and as, as Karen is to handle this for us. Because there are other counties that are finding problems with it. Thank you for doing that, Karen.
And again, IDC, we built, in my opinion, a very successful model, and And, you know, we had the 8 and others come in and say, hey, we like what you're doing, will you pick us up? And while I'd love to, you know, control the state, no, we've got enough with the 8, we wanna stay strong by what we're doing, so we've not added, and hopefully, won't lose my tenure.
And just one more thing, just for everybody's information, Dr. Moore is also a county commissioner, so she has, you know, she sits in our seats as well, so she can understand where we're coming from.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm over in Gladwin County, and it's a very good balance to see, because you see from a county perspective, and then, you know, what do we do here, and you get the end. I always say, anytime you can get a seat at the table, you get not only more information, but more control of the information, so, thank you.
Do you have enough fund balance left then to get to October?
Yes.
All right, very good. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Moore.
you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Yeah, did I talk too fast? Bye, everyone.
Any department head reports? All right, sheriff gives me a nod, no. Public comment. Last call for public comment. Yes. All right, hearing none, we will adjourn courts and public safety.
Good evening.
Yep.
All right, moving on. I'd like to call to order the Finance and Administration Committee. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. Morse?
Here.
Mr. Beggs?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here,
Mr. Hardy?
Here. To ask for approval of the meeting minutes from June 27th, 2024.
so moved, Walker.
I'll second that, Morse.
Moved by Walker, support by Morse. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carried. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
I have 2 changes to the agenda, if we would, please.
Okay.
One was to add the Ferry Township lease agreement. We were gonna bring that back at this meeting, after I talked to the supervisor. And that'll be 2024-71, a motion on the Ferry Township lease agreement. And a second one, the county administrator and I got notification on another opiate settlement, and it's due with Kroger. And these things, when we get them, they have to be signed and returned within so many days. I don't like to bring it to the board that quick, but there's a deadline when we have to sign these. So I'd like to put the opiate settlement agreement with Kroger and discuss that.
Okay. And Mr. Walker, I'll put those in after the request to adopt the resolution 2413, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
And then only 2024-77.
Okay, thank you. And as for approval of the agenda, it's modified.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Erickson, support by Mr. Beggs. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Is there any public comment at this time for Finance and Administration Committee? Quiet group. All right, moving on. Mr. Burdette, Oceana County Brownfield Authority and Oceana County Economic Alliance update.
Well, I'll end with quiet. How about that?
Okay.
Thank you for having me, commissioners. Phil, there's 4 pages in there, and I know I've got 2 things to cover in the time I usually cover one, so I've got some materials here just to kind of condense some of the things happening. I didn't come in front of you last quarter. I spoke at the county meeting over in Shelby, so I did recap some of the newest things there, but I just kind of want to highlight what's happening at the Brownfield Authority and then highlight what's happening at the Economic Alliance. I've got a couple of asks today and I'll get to those, but first, if you'll look at the first page there on the Brownfield, So just a couple of years ago, this commission developed a Brownfield Authority for Oceana County. The county applied for a $300,000 grant from the EPA Community Assessment Program. And I have a little recap at the beginning. I have our board members at the top just to remind you of who they are. And a couple of them are with me today. So Denny's here and Tom. We'll talk about our other guests here in just a moment. So, but the purpose is to help where things have been developed to and may have some contamination. That's technically a brownfield is anything that's been developed to some degree is kind of the generic definition. But then when you start looking at grants, that's when you have contamination or things like those issues. And so, so part of this program was we had to find projects. We had to find people who have property who wanted to improve that property because it's redevelopment. There has to be an improvement that's going to create value for the community and be able to spend that on environmental assessments. So phase 1 and phase 2 studies, brownfield plans, things along those lines that help to help that developer to get the property ready. And so in the amounts here, you can see we have the $300,000 budget. That was what was mapped out, and I only have that. We only update that quarterly, so I don't have Q2 in here. I have Q1. But you can see we've spent down quite a bit. We're about a year and a half in. It's a 3-year grant. So, but you'll see on the next one we're much further along than what that looks like. And so down at the bottom section, I want to talk about some of these projects. So the first 3 are just kind of stuff related to the grant. So it was just getting us started. The QAPP is part of getting the EPA to tell them information that's going on. The engagement was we wanted to spend some money to tell the townships and get people involved because townships, and if it's in a village or city, those have to sign on to be a part of the Brownfield Authority or say that they're willing to be a part of that. And so we've worked to do that, and then we've really worked to tell people about this program, that there's these resources available. We've had quite a bit of success with that. And so just to run down those projects. So if you look where it says in the bottom section, W04, VCM, Valley City Metals, the steel facility in Rothbury. So quite a bit of money there on some phase 1 and phase 2 studies, helping to look at what can be done to do that. Valley City Metals and Juan's here today, and we're going to talk about a piece that they're working on is involved in trying to take this 300,000 square foot building, that's 10 football fields inside of a building. And so working on the best plan for that. They like to demolish the oldest part of that. And there's a lot of things that have to happen. They had to identify a lot of the stuff left behind, bags of stuff, barrels of stuff, figure out what needs to be done to do that. And so this has been a part of that. Obviously, it's a much bigger project than that. They've spent a lot all on their own, but something that the Brownfield Board was very excited about. The idea of having a community center, the idea of utilizing a third of that building for operations, for warehousing and production in there. So that's the project 4 that we had. That was the first project. The next one here, the old Cirrus facility just down the street, the City of Hart, the Hart TIFA had purchased that. And so the Brownfield program wanted to spend some money to help them with looking at potential contamination and just help get that site ready for when a developer is ready to have it. And so just doing some of those assessments, some had already been done. And so part of what we do is figure out, is this a good use of our funds? Does this really benefit the county? And obviously we said yes, excited to have that program going. And they've done a lot of work. They've had some funding with MVDC to look at, okay, what can be done, what kind of buildings can be built there, and develop that. Work order 6, project 6 here is Walkerville. It's the old, I think it was a Napa on the main street there. It was like a car part store. They had some service there. It's right next to the school. Went to East Main.
Noel's Garage.
Noel's Garage, thank you. I knew somebody could identify it better than me. So we have actually Kitty Tynstra from Dogwood Development, not with Dogwood on her own here. She would like to develop that building. Her daughter does piano work. Her husband has been a carpenter, but he would like to open a sharp shop. And so to help sharpen equipment and blades and all the different things that happen there. And so have that in that facility. So looking at what kind of contamination is there, a lot has been studied with that property. But there was a service station at one time, so you've got potential petroleum leaks and all those pieces. So we're excited about that one, and great to have something on the east side of the county engaged there. And these are the ones that we thought, the board thought was eligible. We've had a lot of people who've inquired, so we've probably had another dozen people who've asked about, hey, we're interested in this, and either they just decided they didn't have the resources to go forward, or it just wasn't the right fit. We haven't turned anybody down. It's really just been trying to find those projects that are ready to go, that we feel like they're ready to move forward on it. So we've been thoughtful about making sure these are projects that are going to move forward as we make those, as we spend those funds. And this is done through Fishbeck as our contractor. So the funds just go directly to Fishbeck. They give us a proposal, and those funds just, we write them a check, we go in and do the reimbursement with EPA. This is all part of a reimbursable grant, and then the commissioners have given us $10,000. And that has been, we've only had to use just a little bit of that. We've had that available if needed for things outside of the scope of the grant, but we've really kept that to a bare minimum. So at this point, there's not any additional funds needed, but let me just touch on the last three projects here. So work order 7, SPI Rothbury is a potential housing development, 17 acres kind of behind where Dollar General is. There was an old farm dump kind of in the middle of the woods there. And so the two different amounts here, work order 7, work order 8, that's the phase 1 and then the phase 2. So first they kind of had to look at the old pictures, figure out when they could tell that dump was from the old aerials. And then the phase 2, they're out there, doing some sampling and figuring out what all they need to look at with what's going on there. And so that one is really great potential for Michigan. Right now just released earlier this year a brownfield TIF, brand new housing opportunity that would allow that housing to, right now the cost of housing is so incredibly high. It's hard for developers to decide, hey, I want to develop, this missing middle housing, this, because everything is so expensive to build, that sort of 1,000 to 2,000 square foot house. And so the brownfield TIF allows the county government, or the brownfield, it has to go through a brownfield authority, but it would be, all negotiated with the commissioners and with that local municipality to say there can be up to 50% of that improved property tax that would be go to that authority to say, okay, we'll reimburse the developer some of their development costs once they're paying in that property tax. So if it's a rental, it could be significant. If it's an owned home, a homestead, because of that homestead tax credits, half of that, but still significant way to entice a developer right now to help build those missing middle houses. And so that's an opportunity that could help provide additional funding for the Brownfield Authority, because they can capture some of that as well and hold that for future projects to, if we didn't have these funds, these reimbursable funds from the EPA. And then project 9, the last one, is Walkerville Quick Mart. So the gas station that's there had one of the pumps was hit, and so they're trying to figure out, the building's really old, they'd like to redevelop the whole thing, they'd like to move the tanks over and do that. And so we're starting a brownfield plan. One of the potential barriers is you cannot get funds for things where the owner is liable. So if we can't prove that the liability happened 10 years ago before they bought it, then we won't be able to use funds for anything phase 1, phase 2. So right now they're doing some of that digging, Fishbeck's looking into that. We've talked with Eagle, and we've tried to get an idea. We'll look for the records, whatever assessment reports that are out there, and so we're trying to negotiate that to get to hopefully get that funded so they could look at what how much would be on them and how much support they could get to do that. There's other grants and resources out there, but this is kind of a start to look at that environmental piece for them. And so that was just approved, what day is it? Tuesday. So just at this past meeting. And so really excited to see what happened with that. The board is very excited to see that, in Rothbury and Shelby, we've got 2 projects. And so hopefully in other parts of the county, we can get some more as well. Like I said, there've been other inquiries, but kind of has to fit and it has to be eligible in some of that criteria. And sometimes people come to us after they've already kind of spent the money they've already done those assessments. And if they've already done that, then there's not really much that we can do as far as the EPA grant. So, and the last piece is my predecessor went to the Brownfield conference, and then I went to that. It was in Detroit last year, so travel was really easy. And so I went to that last year, and so just getting a chance to meet with folks and be able to have some of those conversations, and that's kind of a quick overview. I mean, we've been able to fund 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects in Oceana County there, and help with some of those costs that otherwise the developer would have. So just kind of taking some things off of them to be able to do that. And then Fishbeck is also a really great partner because they do a lot of these things to find out, hey, they're really helpful to say, maybe we should be looking with the MEDC for what other grant opportunities there are, and really kind of pointing out, here's some things we should be looking at. They're really good at working with Eagle on the regulations and EPA. So it's been a great partnership for us. It's been a great partnership for these private investors and public that have benefited from that. And it's been a busy 2 years at the Brownfield Authority. So that's kind of a quick recap. Any questions? Yeah.
It's nice, to hear about Walkerville a little bit, and a little more on Walkerville that most people wouldn't realize unless they drove through town. The old Knowles store on the south side of the road's vacant, so there's another huge building that's empty. The restaurant on the north side of the road has been vacant for a long time, looks horrible. The Knowles garage is a great idea, nice corner, everything looks very well there. So Walkerville is talking about cleaning up the restaurant, of which title's been hard to track down the true owner that makes the decision, I understand. And the assessment that was done by the Community Foundation was very helpful because it did bring a lot of people out of the woods that hadn't been to town to discuss the future of Walkerville. So that was well attended. There was a lot of meat that came out of that study that was done by the foundation. Walkerville Thrives. They're trying to regenerate that group right now. The core is a little tired, and there's been some new people that have come and added to trying to help Walkerville, come up. But three things that are interesting is they build a Family Dollar in Walkerville, and then they build a Dollar General in Walkerville, kitty corner from each other, which has made it a shopping center in that neck of the woods. And the couple that own the Quick Mart are also the couple that own the new gas station north of 10 up in Scottville. So they know how to operate, and they run a nice little show downtown. And without that gas station, it would get really rough out east. And for a lot of people, don't realize what a recreation area School Section Lake is, in the PN River, and it's busy. If you're in Walkerville on any given day, it's a busy little place, and it's a lot of second home people. So I'm glad you've been out there, and I'm really glad you've been pushing with those people, and I think Kitty's got a good vision there. Thanks, Kurt.
Absolutely. So my first ask, the authority on Tuesday approved that they would like to pursue another EPA community assessment grant. So there's no match required for that. It can be up to $500,000. Last time, 2 years ago, we applied for $300,000 and got that. And we were first time applicant last time. So we're in a new bucket of a current applicant or a current grantee right now. This year they've scheduled that they will have 52 awards, up to $500,000 each. There's $26 million targeted to be in that bucket. Our odds are not great, but our odds are not zero. So, and if we apply this year, it's not that different from the application we had 2 years ago, except we can add, here's all these successful projects and here's all the things we have going on. And if we don't get it this year, we can apply again next year. And do that. It's a reimbursable grant. There are no costs that we've expended out of that original $10,000, except I think we published an ad to get board members when they were open last year. So I think that's the only expense we have that didn't get reimbursed from the rest. So that would be something that the authority would like and would like me to ask, because that's the grantee would be the county, and that we could continue to operate it as we've done in partnership with whoever the contractor is. And right now it's Fishbeck. They've been great. There's a couple other companies that are really great that do it in the state as well. Okay, well, so then the next task on the next page. And Vaughn is here, and so I mentioned the work that they're doing in the old steel mill in Rothbury, and this is behind Vaughn. This is Trudy from Fishbeck. Fishbeck is working with Valley City Metals to write 2 different grant proposals to help demolish that old part of the building. It's about 100,000 square feet in the middle. The roof is so bad that there's just no sense trying to work with it. What they like to do is put a farmer's market out there, make it a community space, have the community center in the south 100,000 square feet of the building. And so they're applying, sending it in today to Eagle. There's a $500,000 that they have for an environmental justice grant. And this community change grant is also from EPA, like the Brownfield grant. One of the things that it requires is a local partner, and I highlighted that in yellow. And so a local government partner, excuse me. And the county has, done a lot of federal grants. So there's that reputation that's there, because that's something that they look at as they look at these. And so what it would be primarily is that demolition. And they had applied for the state land bank money. Unfortunately, they were denied for a significant amount, because it wasn't demolishing the whole building. And it was, part of it was operational. So they were using part of the building there. So this would be through the ladder. So it can be used for profit. So because that's going to be part of a community center, so the ladder would be the nonprofit that would be operating the community center, and then the farmers market there. So the partnership would be with the ladder and the county government. They can have more partners, but there are only 2 primary that you can have. So I would imagine the Economic Alliance would be a partner as well. But as far as you can only have 2 that are the primary ones there. And so, and then on the second page, it just kind of identifies the steps here in doing this. This application is due in November, and it's a new grant and new process. And so just trying to get things going, see if this could happen. You can see the amounts are, starting at 10 million. So a significant amount to get those improvements going and make some things happen in Rothbury. Vaughn, Trudy, anything to add to that?
Well, I just want to say that we appreciate you considering this. This is a hefty grant. We probably will be going for just under $10 million for the creation of the community center, which would be in the most southern part, the newest part of that large industrial building. We work very closely with the village of Rothbury. We have a citizens group that is meeting regularly to offer suggestions, ideas, and input on what the community center would hold. So that, we just had a meeting last night. So we have the community involved in helping to design the community center. This grant would be pivotal to keep putting the timeline much quicker for the completion of that. This is a federal grant. We're going for less than 10 million because it's more likely to get funded at the lower level, but $10 million probably will do a pretty good job for us. What else? I'm looking back at Trudy because we have contracted with Fishbeck Trudy to help write this federal grant because it's a large thing, but it does require the county essentially to be the flow through for those funds that then get allocated to the 501c3 ladder board to distribute. And of course, we've been working with, it could be Copper Rock Construction, it could be Fishbeck Construction for that. And we also are right in the middle of the process of developing the architectural plans for that. Norman Dodds, he sits on the Brownfield board, is our architect. So the survey is almost completed for the area, which would be under the 501c3 ladder portion of that property. So we're moving ahead, moving forward to putting those things together, and I'm very thankful to have Trudy from Fishbeck to do the heavy lifting with her experience in grant writing.
If I could just add, this may be a one-time only grant, these community change grants. This is a new one, and there's no guarantee that it will continue after this year. So it's really, I think, a great thing for you to be looking at this and considering it for your community. EPA grants are always very competitive. I've been in at some of the webinars, and there's a lot of people on these webinars watching and trying to determine what they could do for the community. How many applications that will result in is unknown because they're very extensive. It takes a lot of time and effort to put these applications together. They are page limited, and you have to hit every single point. They're scored. So Fishbeck is one of the companies that's very experienced in these grants, and if we can continue to help you in that area, we'd love to do that. But just wanted to stress that the sooner you get started on this and make a determination if you're going to go for it, the better.
I'll add probably the most important part of this is it includes grant administration funds. So this grant can be used to pay the consultants to do the grant administration. That's what we have with the EPA grant. There is very little grant administration we have to do with that community action grant. So we've had, they have a representative at every one of our brownfield meetings as part of making sure that they have all the answers when an invoice comes up and everything else. They've been very good to work with. It's been a great partnership for the Brownfield Authority, and so, but those funds can be used to pay that contractor to do the grant administration, and that it just becomes the processing of those invoices, and then seeking that reimbursement is done by the county.
Chris?
Yes. Mr. Walker.
Curtis and Vaughn, when do you need a resolution from us supporting it? Today or when?
I would say next month would be probably fine.
So
yeah.
Within the next,
Yeah.
so Curtis, can you bring one back to us? I don't see a big problem with it, but can you bring us work with Tracy and bring a resolution to us at one of the meetings?
Absolutely.
We might as well get that done right up front.
It would be nice, yeah, and having shown action early is a good thing when you apply for a grant. I also want to mention, if you would like to see on the spot that building or what we're planning as far as that community center and farmers market, you can get a hold of me. I'd be glad to take you through that and show you what we're doing there. Mr. Beckman has doubled the amount of employees between Valley City Mills and Shelby and the Rockbray plant in the last couple of years. So he's having an impact on the community, and he cares about his community, as you probably all know.
the brownfield piece for SPI development, that housing in Roxbury, that is also through Dave Beckman, so that company.
Yes, Phil.
So just so I understand it correctly, we all do it, there's no risk to be a part of this, to adopt this resolution for, let's say, the board, and there's, the commitment is pretty minimal from what you're saying, correct? Just for everybody's information.
So it would be, it would be a federal grant granted to the county. So, all the obligations that go with that, the county has dealt with a lot of federal grants. There's no match, is that correct?
There's no match. There is a partnership agreement that has to be done between the two entities. So if it's the county and the latter, you're gonna have a written signed partnership agreement. There are some minimum specifications EPA requires in that agreement, which we can get to you.
Yeah, that'd be
That
good.
just has to be part of the application when that goes in.
And that is due
In
in
November.
early November, so.
And then if you could get wording for the first, the resolution for the first one you talked about too, to us, that would be great as well.
Absolutely.
Mr. Walker.
Bill, if I can expound on your question a little bit. Oceana County got boxed into a corner with an EPA state grant at one time. And that was when the people did not, use the money in the appropriate way that the grant stated it had to be used. And Oceana County ended up paying $84,000 back on that grant. And people who had improperly used the money were not in business anymore. And it all came back on the county, so that's where it's important, and I have all the confidence in Fishbeck. I've seen them work through the land bank, and the confidence in Curtis to make sure those things don't happen. But there is a risk. I want to be right up front, and because I've seen it happen before. But with competent people, it should not happen.
Sure. And just adding to that, with the, I don't know how it is because this is a unique grant, with the community assessment grant, the Fishbeck can't start the work until the EPA approves it. So we have a pre-authorization on every project for the community assessment grant. I don't know how it'll be for this because it's a little bit different, but there is a extra step beyond when our board approves a scope of services from Fishbeck for a new work order. It has to be approved by EPA before they can even start.
Just wanted to point out that due to the fact that the funds are so large, if you were to get that, we may end up having to do a single audit, which is something that the auditors are used to because of federal grants. And two, does that come out of ASAP just like the brownfield funds? Or don't you know that?
Well, it's part of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Well, no, it's a payment software for
Yeah,
the government.
it's where we draw down the money.
I would assume that that's what they're going to do, but since this is a brand new grant, we're not positive on that yet.
So I just wanted to point out that ASAP, the software that we use to draw down the funds for brownfield, is rather simple. I'm just informed by the county treasurer when those funds need to be drawn down, how much, and I go in and within a few steps and the funds are in our account that day.
If this grant allows administrative costs, it may allow single audit costs too. If it allows, it may, but if it doesn't, I would not want to walk away from the
Oh,
whole
no,
project because of it.
no.
because
I
of
just
the
wanted to
single audit.
point that out.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay, the last page, my day job, the Economic Alliance. So I threw this at the top because I just love to tell this story. The economic development started here with the commissioners in 1980, and I'm sort of subcontracted through the Right Place. We have the partnership with the Right Place. They didn't start till 1985, excuse me, and the state one didn't start until sort of 93, and then they reformed it as the MEDC, what it is now, not until 1999. So it shows. I mean, we have 7 rural counties that work with the Right Place. There are a lot of things that are further ahead in Oceana County than other places. And so, while people often tell me what a great job I'm doing, and I appreciate that, and I think I'm the right person at the right time, But I also think we're at where we're at because a lot of people in front of me did a lot of heavy lifting. So just quick metrics here. My annual goals are to visit with retention visits is to really understand a business, spend an hour with them, find out what's going on, what's going well, what's not. So I'm supposed to do 25 a year. I've already done 30, so I'm taking the rest of the year off. It's kind of good and bad because there's a lot of follow-up with businesses. So having done 30, we had a bunch of events. We had that workforce study that we finished up. We had our developer workshop. We had a bunch of things at the beginning of the year. And it made it a little harder to keep up with everybody. So more is not necessarily better. But it's great that people are coming to me. I've got somebody else I got to call back who just called me who wants to do some work in their bakery. And so, it's just great that people know that I'm here. And then assists is where it's just I'm helping a business that they're better off than me not doing what I did. So it's just kind of a quick check-in to say, hey, where's that happening? And then I can just kind of track that. It just gives me a couple little things. But we talk about kind of three big areas of the Economic Alliance: people, which is sort of workforce, education, housing. Like I said, we just helped finish that county workforce training and economic diversification study. A big win out of that is the partnership between City of Hart and West Shore Community College, and talking about bringing satellite campus here with both West Shore and Muskegon Community College and other nonprofits in there, and making that a great facility. So that really came out of some of the discussions in here. A study is a study, but we also have a people committee that until just now, Tuesday, Commissioner Morris was in charge of. Now we have a new chair for that. But we're making sure that continues forward. All the information that we got out of that to make sure some of those goals that we said we wanted the county to do, that the businesses who came and said, here's what we want, that those continue to move forward. We have a monthly HR network roundtable. So I get to meet with the HR leaders in Oceana County and just kind of learn about what's going on. Things are going well. It's been a great year, even though the season's been a little unpredictable on growing. But overall, companies are doing very well. And I serve on the United Way board. For Place, that's kind of our public gathering spaces, infrastructure development. I mentioned we had that emerging developer workshop. It was really for a lot of people who are maybe thinking about, Kitty Tynstra, a good example, somebody who hasn't done development on her own, really wants to develop that facility in Walkerville. And so it was talking about some of the resources, programs, contacts at the state and other agencies that can help. We have a broadband committee that meets monthly. We're just talking to the ISPs. It's a lot of grant money to get internet out there, get broadband internet to folks. So we want to make sure we've got good relationships, that if they're running into any barriers, and if they're going after grant money, that they're going to use it in Oceana County. I was engaged in the Walkerville Community Assessment. That also helped lead to some of the projects we got. The foundation funded that. Had the community come out and say, we had 60 people in that room, which is really amazing, that folks came out and shared their opinions, and there's things that keep going on there. And then the last piece of that, so we track projects that we were a part of, and since 2018, public projects and grants have invested more than $11 million in Oceana County that OCA has been a part of. In prosperity, this is really exciting. So we have the second, my second Pitch North, but it's the sixth one. And this is a entrepreneur seed funding competition. And 4 out of the first 5 years, Oceana County took, one of the entrepreneurs from Oceana County took first place. Last year it was Birch and Blossom. The 2 of the finalists, Birch and Blossoms and Big Skinnies. And so this year, of the 27 applicants from the 3 counties, we had 15. So again, just feeling like businesses know that there are resources out there, they're going after them. And that's including Nuevo County, so twice as many people, and we had more than half of the applications. So, and that'll be coming up August 7th at the research station, and you're welcome to attend. I came before you in December asking about the Rural Development Fund grant. We were denied for that $100,000 grant to do looking at bringing new industry into Oceana County. So we're trying to figure out how to pivot from that. We'd still like to study a little bit more about how we can expand on new industry opportunities. We could do it with, you know, with $30,000, but just trying to figure out what makes sense before we, you know, before we look into where to go with that. So, helping the starting block, their directors planning to retire in a year. Their contract with the city just ran out, so they're changing a few things up. So excited to see we've got a kitchen incubator here. And again, it's those entrepreneurs, and several of them are applicants who applied for Pitch North here. So great stuff going on. Fiesta Grande, if you haven't heard, I'm sure you all have, that they've opened operations in Pentwater, so things are going great there. And then, again, since, you know, tracking the data since 2018, OCA has assisted in business projects that have invested $65 million. That doesn't include Fiesta Grande, it doesn't include Blue Photon in Shelby, if you don't know, is doubling their facility, so adding another, it's either 8,000 or 10,000 square feet. They make work holding and glue, so that machine parts can get machined to high precision. It holds that part really steady. And Purdue Farms could double that number. So running on less than $500,000 over that time, OCA has been a part of projects that's brought well over 100 times, 100 to 1 return on investment in helping private investment. So last couple things are just some, you know, professional development and outreach. Some things I've been a part of. I mentioned the Jump Nut grants. Mentioned that EDA grant is finally done. We got the money. Whew, it took a long time, but we really had some great information. We got stalled a little bit in the middle and got our contractor to really dig in a little harder for us, and that turned out great. We closed out just the end of last year our grant to help the surveying for bringing the water to the housing project from the village to the township there in Shelby, and then just recently applied for minority-owned food and farm grant, really looking to see if we can make some outreach, especially in the Hispanic community, to help them, you know, grow their small businesses or growing businesses in farm and food, so agriculture or, you know, food processing. And so be a couple months before we hear on that. A lot of stuff with just adding some bilingual programming. We've got a lot of business resources that are free, just trying to take that and make sure we're creating a stronger outreach in the Hispanic community to make sure they know about the resources to grow their business. So that's the recap on the Economic Alliance.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I want to make sure I got some paper in front of you because I always rattle off so much stuff. I thought, well, I'll just give you a takeaway. So,
Any questions or comments, Mr. Morris?
Yeah, just a few comments. So yeah, as you know, I think you guys know I'm the chair of the Oceana County Economic Alliance. Just appreciate Curtis's work with our group and what he does in our county. It's pretty outstanding, and Tracy's on the board too. And yeah, just really appreciate it. And this, I'm really super excited. When I talk about risk, I'm putting on my county commissioner hat, by the way, just so you know, we gotta make sure our promotion of economic development does not weigh the risk, you know, involved. If I hope that makes sense. And so but I'm so excited. I've done a on-site walkthrough, and I'm excited about what we're looking at there. But then my last thing is we have a breakfast coming up. We haven't had an annual breakfast since before COVID. I'm tired of saying COVID, but before that. So that's coming up on October 11. We have the CEO of The Right Place is going to be our keynote speaker. What's his name again?
Randy Thalen.
Randy Thalen. He's a pretty smart guy, and so I'm excited to have him there. So it's going to be October 11 at the research station at 8 o'clock in the morning. Scott Beal from Silver Lake Chamber and Curtis are leading that effort to put that together. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of other dates.
I mentioned August 7th is Pitch North. That's 4 to 6 at the Research Center. So you're welcome to attend and hear the pitches. We don't know the 5 finalists yet, so hopefully all 5 from Oceana County. We'll just sweep it. But you know, we hope to have you know, some good representation there, and it's great to have people in the community supporting our entrepreneurs. Free event, so we'll have some light snacks.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on, Administrator Giard, county clerk request for per diem for the board of canvassers 2024-69.
The board of commissioners asked at not the last meeting, the meeting before that, to forward on the email from the county clerk to Matt Nordfjord, and that was done, and that response was placed in your packet.
Any discussion?
I think it's pretty clear.
I don't.
Sorry.
Mr. Hardy, I do not agree with the attorney's position. I do not think the attorney did us a good job on looking at all of the facts. But unfortunately, I think we need to follow the attorney's position. And I do believe that when it comes to the Board of Canvassers, that because they are happening so often now, especially when we talk about recalls, especially when we talk about so many other things that are going on in the political environment now, I think it needs to be addressed at budget time.
Anyone else?
I'll just say, I think it's pretty, our legal, we've employed to get this, study this for us. I want to take his word for what it is, and I think, or take his expertise, and I think we need to keep it as it is right now.
The only further thing I'd like to say is publicly, is other counties are doing it now. But
They are,
yes,
There are some, yeah.
like just a few areas as a like.
No, there were several other counties, I think 7 or 9, someplace in that number. And there was an opinion that from Hillsdale County's corporate attorney that disagreed with what our attorney said. But whether I like it or not, I think we have to follow what the attorney says.
If you read the statutes, it kind of spells out what the attorney said, but our attorney said.
But he did not take the 2019 changes into effect.
Correct.
But I'm not gonna profess to be an attorney.
Okay, anything else? All right, moving on, Mr. Biard, request to add GovOS invoices to the prepaid list.
So the GovOS invoices are for the county clerk's office and the Register of Deeds. And when they receive those invoices in, the due date is upon us. It's like quick.
Tomorrow.
So they're wanting a quick turnaround, and by the time the invoices are turned into us, they're late. So at no fault of the clerk's office or the Register of Deeds. It is because GovOS is not getting those to us in a timely manner. So we're asking if those can be added to the prepaid list to be paid weekly rather than every 2 weeks.
We have several other ones with our utilities and everything that we have to prepay, so if the clerk and the treasurer think it's prudent for us to add them, I'm not gonna second guess that either.
I think it's, yeah. Any other comments, questions? It's good. All right, moving on. Gary McKean, request to adopt resolution 2413 for the Parks and Recreation Plan update, and I appreciate you standing in.
Morning.
Good morning, Gary.
Just call me Stefan.
Yeah.
That's okay. So after an exhaustive time, we've been able to put together the 5-year plan for parks. West Michigan Regional Shoreline Development Commission, Stephen Carlson was a great facilitator for us. We worked with him obviously on the County Planning Commission as well for the county 5-year plan. So we spent quite a bit of time over the last year and a half with Stephen. He's given us all the data that we need. He's been the good writer of our plan. We've added a couple of additional things that we've tweaked a little bit. But the 5-year plan largely for parks is largely to allow us to go to the DNR. The plan's been filed with the DNR preliminarily, so we can get grants, potential grants for park improvements. So that's where we're at today. All of the maps had been updated by Wimser-Dick for Oceana County. We made sure of that after the last issue we had with the county planning program. Any questions in particular? You've had it for about 45 days, I think, actually, the document.
Any questions?
Hearing anything?
Gary makes it very easy for us.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, 5 more years, we'll see how that goes.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Gary.
Gary. Let's see. Mr. Walker, Mr. Biard, do you want to handle the Perry Township agreement?
Yes, at the last meeting, we brought up the, renewal of the lease agreement with Perry Township for the 10 acres where the transfer station is on M20. And, some of the Perry Township officials had a question about subleasing and wanted a little bit more information on the subleasing. I talked to the township supervisor,
Dave.
Dave, yeah, 3 or 4 times since the meeting. And I asked Dave if we could add in a sentence in there on the lease agreement that no subleasing would occur without the approval on Perry Township. And so we could move forward with the scale and move forward with other things. I don't wanna keep waiting on these. And Dave said that he sees no problem with that whatsoever. He said, why don't you pass it on your board? If you put that in at your board, and then I will go to their meeting. I have that same day, I have a community mental health meeting in Baldwin, and I think I can get back in time for the meeting, and I'll communicate with Dave about that too, but it's an important meeting in Baldwin I really need to be at. So.
They start late too, they start at 7:30.
Pardon me?
They start at 7:30, they're a late start
Okay.
time.
That will help me, because we usually go to about 6:30, 6:45, so I'll be okay with that. But I would ask that, board members, pass the change in the lease agreement to reflect that. We had a discussion about any alterations to the property, and that is already covered as the administrator pointed out. That is already
Yeah,
covered.
I read the changes.
When you're sitting talking to somebody on the phone back and forth about this, you don't have the paperwork in front of you. When you put your hammer down to discuss a lease agreement, you don't have the information, so you can miss some of those things. But I would ask that, we would approve that, and let's move forward, which will allow us to move forward. And on the same note, the administrator got a update from American Classic, what they're looking for. I'm gonna ask her to forward that. We'll get a chance to look at it too, but forward it to, Ferry Township as being unapproved, just for information that it's unapproved. So they will have that for the meeting, their board meeting also. And I was just given that this morning. I think she just got it yesterday. So, and on the opiate settlement, as I said a little bit on this when I asked to put it on the agenda, I like to have these things on the agenda, early, but, I got, another opiate settlement from, I believe it's Kroger, is that, retail? And, I got it yesterday afternoon, and you have to sign in to open it up, and you have to do a digital signature to sign it out, to send it into them. You cannot close it after you open it up until the digital signature is on, and you can't forward it to anybody, and you can't do anything with it at all. It's all locked down. So I can scroll around it to read other things on my computer, but I can't get rid of it. So I think this is pretty much boilerplate. I didn't see anything different than the other ones.
Yeah, it's a $1.2 billion settlement, opioid settlement agreement, and
I'll discuss it a little bit more during the administrator's report about the meeting we had with community mental health. But let me just say that it appears as though, with as hard as the retailers are getting hit with these opiate settlements, we are going to see a lot more retailers going out of business. And it's not good right now. The competition is not gonna be there anymore. But that, I ask that, you allow me, and we'll do this during the formal meeting, that you just allow me to sign that, to send it back in. And usually they give you about, at the most, 3 or 4 days to sign it, to send it back, or they reject you. Somebody must not have explained to them how government works. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. Administrator Biard, Administrator's review for selected claims for payment and Administrator's report.
So the claims are included in the packet for you. Are there any questions on those? If not, I will move on to the administrator's report. I provided the, sorry.
I just have a question, and I've gotta bring it up, line 710. I would like the board, I would like the public to know that we have been without a coordinator in 4-H now for quite some time. So I believe that anything that we do, and as far as the agreement we have with the extension in regards to a coordinator, I don't feel I think we need to look at what we're paying, because we're not getting the service. Doesn't have to happen today. I just want everyone aware that we don't have a 4-H coordinator right now. It's been a problem for years, but I think we're gonna have a very successful fair in spite of it. Thank you.
Thank you. The budget information is provided in the packet for you. There are a few overages that you'll see within the revenues, and that is due to some additional funds that came in, and eventually I will have an adjustment come to you to increase those so that we can take care of them. There are no overages right now within the general fund expenditures. However, there you will note some of the, like the data processing, the 228 budget is at 93%, the microfilming at 82%, and these are largely in part because we pay those invoices within those funds or in those departments for the entire year. So those are done up front, and so it takes care of most of the funds that are in those departments. Does anybody have any questions on those? Okay.
Can I jump into that?
Sure.
Tracy and I had a conversation when I saw because I was concerned about the payments to the fire first responders that we have, and sometimes we have been getting those bills, instead of getting them from the fire departments quarterly, we have gotten them like during December, and which should have been 3 quarterly bills, we got them all at once. And instead of being $10,000 a piece, we got hit with $30-some thousand right at the end of the budget time. It makes it very difficult for us to keep track of where we are with those. So I told Tracy that I believe the county has a policy that claims for payment need to be filed within 90 days of the time they occurred. And I suggested that she send out, I remember when somebody was doing inspections, that they waited till December and put in a whole year's worth of inspections at the same time, and that kind of throws things off for us. So I asked the administrator to send a very polite email to the fire departments, asking those to get those in within 2 weeks after the quarter, if they're gonna build quarterly, that we need them right away.
Right.
And additionally, so when it comes to the end of the year, we would like to have that bill during the first week or 2 of January, so we can pay it out of the previous year's budget, because if it goes past February, then we run into problems paying out of that budget. So, and I don't expect the people that are submitting the bills to understand how all of that works. And I think just a polite note to the townships would be helpful, that we need them in a certain time frame. If I may, the opiate settlement, we met with Dr. Williams. I told you that I had contacted Dr. Williams about usage of the opiate settlement money. And this is gonna be something that's gonna go on for 18 years. And Dr. Williams was there, Josh Snyder was there also. Josh is a #2 person at West Michigan Community Mental Health. Sheriff Mass took time out of his schedule to join us, and Tracy and I were there. Dr. Williams did a lot of background information from the people in the community mental health and different people in the opiate settlements on how they work and how they go forward. One thing that needs to be done is there needs to be an assessment and what did she call it? There's a name for it. An assessment. Michigan State does those. Mason County just got under the deadline with Michigan State to get signed up. If you ask Michigan State now to help you with it, it's going to be 6 to 8 months before they can do it. And you can't do anything besides that. MAC also does it. Brandon, was that the name for MAC?
Brandon's with the DHHS and Amy Delinky is with MAC.
And they do it. So we are going to ask MAC and them to help us with the evaluation on we move forward. I'm still of the belief that if we have an opiate problem, that it is the treatment of an opiate problem is as much or more of a mental health issue than anything else. And I'd like to see us, if we can, work forward with community mental health on this. And they are, Sheriff, they had very good information. And what's your thoughts on it, Sheriff, if I can ask?
I totally agree. I know I had some previous ideas about maybe using that money towards a nurse, and we found out that wasn't gonna be an option, but everything that what was presented to us at the meeting, it really sounded favorable going forward with the follow-up treatment that we're really lacking right now. That we really, a lot of people when they leave the jail, they don't have a lot of resources to turn to, and this is something to give them some follow-up support, and that's really needed in our community.
And one thing we can do, if we work with CMH and the assessment thing, we can start this follow-up agreement to be right when somebody's incarcerated. The other alternative that has come forward is Mecosta County they don't have the contract done yet with District 10, do they? They are working on a contract with District 10 Health, and they are just gonna turn all of their opiate settlement funds over to District 10, and District 10 is gonna administer the whole thing for them. I don't think that's the best plan, but if we will, when the contract's done for Mecosta County with District 10, Paul and I will get a copy of that, and we'll present that at the same time. But now, I would like to move forward. I think we should move forward with the assessment to MAC. Tracy, have you had a chance to contact them yet?
I have not, but I will be doing that.
I think we need, there's a lot, only one county has the assessment done. In Oakland County, I think, one of those, and they're big enough that they just did it themselves. They've got so much staff, they can do those things. So, we're.
Is there a fee for MAC to do that?
No, that's part of our association fee.
They get paid by the opiate, by the state, to do those. It was a good meeting. It was set for an hour, and we were there for an hour, and all of the information came out. A lot of questions were answered for me that I didn't understand. And I'm sure there's a lot more that weren't unanswered than were answered. But that's one of the roads that we want to pass, that we want to look at now. And again, the only other one, the only other two are to totally administer them ourselves. And the book is about as thick as the art. Maybe Craig, we could appoint the chairman of the finance committee to help us with those, like the ARPA funds.
Yeah, no.
But, you know, the problem is, and we're hearing this all along.
Right.
There will be follow-up on these.
Sure.
When these funds are used, it will not be that there won't be any follow-up to see where it was done. So we're trying to be careful with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So of the three, I think that we will, you know, do the assessment with CMH and then also look at what, District 10 can do with us.
The sheriff didn't volunteer to oversee this?
Pardon me?
So the sheriff didn't volunteer to oversee this?
I was very, very happy that the sheriff was at that meeting because there were some questions there that only the sheriff could answer. And he really needed to be on the ground floor of this meeting. I'm glad he took time out to be there. Thank
I
you.
just had one other thing. So I will be coming to the board to ask for a change to our policy with regards to W-9s and how we handle those. We have been contacted by the IRS about approximately 10 of our vendors that the TIN numbers were incorrect from invoices or from contracts from 2021. And so we're correcting those. We will resubmit those, but they've asked us to have a policy in place on W-9s and making sure that we're collecting those prior to payment to any of those contractors. So that'll be coming forward at one point.
Tracy and I had a brief discussion of these, and some of these vendors are people that are used by department heads that really the administrator's office doesn't know about it until a bill comes in. So we have to work with the department heads too. And my suggestion was for the department heads, it is preferred that all that paperwork be done before a contract is entered into, but if it's something that has to go real quick, that paperwork has to be done before any payments will be made. We don't want the IRS knocking on our door about these things.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
So, we have department head meeting next Wednesday. That's on the agenda, I presume?
It is.
I figured so.
And I was gonna be getting with you on anything else you would like on that.
Okay. My second thing is, you put in there about tipping, what was it, tipping?
Tipping fees?
Yeah, tipping fees. Can you go just a little bit more about that? What is that all about?
That has to do with landfills. So when they when they go to these landfills, they're provided a tipping fee for the amount of garbage that they bring in. So they've decided not to increase that.
When they go across the scale and they weigh them in, and it says you dumped 80,000 pounds worth of garbage on, the payment on that 80,000 pounds is called the tipping fee.
Oh, okay.
That's the simplest way that I can put it in perspective.
So it's probably a good thing that they're not increasing that, because that would have affected us, because you know, you have your haulers that come in to collect our stuff from our transfer station, and then they're gonna increase their cost because they're getting charged more.
Well, and when the tipping fees really hit the ceiling, is if they come in with something that's supposed to be hauling 80,000 pounds and it's 110,000 pounds. They slip by the weighmasters, but they don't slip by the scale before they dump, and it gets really expensive.
All right, thank you.
Oh, thank you for sending that audit through the email.
No problem. I will, I'm assuming that the board would like a presentation from them with regard to the audit. Okay, we'll get that set up.
But it was good.
Okay, very good.
All right, any department head reports at this time? Gary?
We're gonna talk about parks. Lots of good stuff happening. Today is the end of forest camp out at Doolittle and Gales Pond. So the Conservation District had 35 kids. The second group has been out there, and 12 high school kids that are acting as counselors. I heard a report yesterday that they found 3 snakes yesterday, so that's always charming. The Marshville Dam project has gone very well. If you don't know, if you've not been across it, the bridge is open. It's really pretty cool, I have to say. And if you look out over the marsh right now, the contractor is just finishing up. He's probably about 98% done. By Friday, he'll have everything done, he thinks. So the only thing that'll be left to do will be in September. We'll put in the boardwalk, and once that happens, we'll have the project completely finished. But the opportunity over 4 years to get federal grants and state grants for basically $2.3 million. It's pretty staggering how the contractors have come together. And next Tuesday, we're going to have the walkthrough of the 16 agencies. All of the interested parties will walk through the property, kind of kick the tires to see exactly what needs to be changed, if any. Probably not many changes. I was talking to the engineer yesterday, and he said it's the first project he's worked on in a long, long time that there were no change orders during the whole process, which is pretty remarkable. So, also out of Crystal Valley, the park is being used a lot more now. We have 2 softball leagues that are out there right now. We have 2 practices from various teams from Hart. They don't seem to have enough ball field space in Hart, so they're driving out to the valley, and that's gone very well. At Cedar Point, Kristen Fisher, who's our Eagle representative, gave us the final approval for the project. Pete has got a few more little tweaks in here, but she gave us the green card, so we're good to go, and that project is complete. I've got a lot of stuff to cross off my list for completed orders and things. And yeah, I did want to go back to Windsor, Dick. The cost of the county planning 5-year plan and the parks was approximately $9,000 combined. And when you look at the cost of that versus the public side or the private side, which is as much as $35,000 I've seen, we got a real bargain with Windsor, Dick. So they've done a fantastic job for us. Thank you to Phil and to Tim over here. They're both on the board there, and Erin just runs really a good shop there. We really like working with her, and she's been great with grants and all of the things that they provide for Oceana County. I think they need to really be paid more attention to. So, yeah, that's about it. Lots of good stuff going on in parks, and the parks are full. We had a little tree damage. I think I talked about that 2 weeks ago, but it's going to be a good summer. And Pete did say, he said, we're running out of parking at Cedar Point on hot days. There's not enough, the people are using the stairway and then the different platforms that we have out there. And we need to start thinking about the possibility of some additional parking. So, like,
Increase our parking, or we're going to increase our complaints from our neighbors about trespass.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Thank you, Gary. All right, moving on. Any public comment at this time for Finance and Administration Committee?
Public comment?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. So public comment, Oceana Conservation District. We are, as you know, Susie Knoll is leaving us about the 5th of August or so. And we'll be having an open house in celebration of her 10 years with us on August the 8th. So everybody is invited for that. It's from 5 till 7 at the district office. Wishing her well to go to her new job with the CRA. At the same time, we've been interviewing. We've had 7 candidates. We have 3 that we've selected to further explore. And we're very hopeful that one of these 3 will really fill the bill of what we're looking for to fill her shoes. We know that that's probably not going to be the easiest thing to do. She's done a fantastic job. But the world it's new, and there's a future there, and you just never know who comes through the door and how things can change and how we can go forward. But working with the county on additional financing and additional monies for the district, it's really been a really good benefit, I think, long term for the district and certainly for the county and the people in the county to use that money for education, certainly lots of programs for farming and so on. So the legislature basically went ahead and basically approved or rubber stamped. I don't know if the governor signed it, but at least from the standpoint of the districts, they're going to have the same amount of revenue as we did last year. They'll also been keeping the MEAT program with the districts for the time being. They approved $250,000, maybe $200,000 to explore the possibility of what's going to happen to the districts in the future out of the state budget. So we're hopeful that the MEAT program stays with the district and we can continue. Linda's done a great job. We took 2,060 tires out of the county a week ago Saturday, which is really a great benefit at the road commission, and just a lot of good things happening there as well.